for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich, and across the way in the Grove, the star of the show, the one and only everybody. Yes. He is here. He has made it through this crazy weekend. The one and only Jesse Martineau.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Mark, okay, here's one thing. I saw your Twitter yesterday. And it went off. Your Twitter, I mean, there's so many things that your Twitter has said recently, but your Twitter, you're MFing the Cowboys again. You're back on it. But let me remind you of something, Mark. We can play the clip.
You're right.
Last week, you said, hey, the Cowboys are for real. Cowboys look good. And I was like, Mark, are you sure you want to say this right now? It's only 2 games in. Week 3 rolls around. Week 3 rolls around. And what happens? The Arizona Cardinals. Like
I knew.
They're horrible.
One thing about you is you can have ADHD all you want, but you have a memory like a fucking elephant.
Yeah, I remember things that like nobody else will.
Like when people say dumb shit like I did last week, you're like this in your memory. You're like, let me write that shit down. So when we come on the air at 5:00 on Monday, I can throw that shit right in Mark's face, and you are correct to do so. But you know what's funny? Like I was looking, this weekend for me has been absolute turmoil. But can you watch this show anymore? And I can just dog the Raiders. Like it's unbelievable the lack with all the talent in the world on a team, and to be that dog shit. You have to think to yourself, what's the problem? And it's simple. It's these recycled coaches that come from New England that fuck everything up. They did it in Detroit. They did it when they brought him in, and then they brought in McDaniels from New England, and he's doing a shit job because we've all figured out one thing. They're not Bill Belichick. Now, you have Pete Carroll in Seattle, who's literally reinvented himself. Every year, you've watched him go through all these eras when they won the Super Bowl, and then everybody told him, oh, Geno Smith, he's going to suck. Can you believe he's doing this? And now they start to look like a team again. They got, okay, of course, you got DJ Metcalf and, these other beautiful pieces of the puzzle. But what I am saying is, it's amazing how either you got guys like Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick that have figured a way to evolve with the sport, and then you got guys like Mike McDaniel in Miami, who looks like literally a librarian who, if you talk to him, you would ask the guy, hey, bro, I think you're in the wrong place. And he's literally like, they put up 70 points yesterday in Miami.
Yeah, they put a 70 up.
No, listen,
this
ladies and gentlemen.
Basketball.
Yeah, this isn't basketball. That's exactly right. I'm choking now. But you imagine, and you know what he said? Let me tell you how much I love this guy, Mike McDaniel, that's the coach of the Miami Dolphins. He had a chance, Jesse, with 20 seconds left to kick the 3-pointer, the field goal, to break the record in the NFL. Yeah. And he said, It's not in my DNA to do that, but it's in his DNA to put up 70 points, 70 points, and literally has changed the whole makeup of Miami football. Now, you come back to Las Vegas with the most expensive ticket in football. You have Devontae Adams, who arguably put up fantasy football players are all jerking off today because they're like, wow, Devontae Adams put up whatever, 200 receiving yards or whatever the case may be, had 17 balls thrown at him. Now you got guys like, Josh Jacobs, who won the rushing title last year, who signed a $10 million one-year deal and can't get past the line of scrimmage.
I know, right?
So
That's
what's
crazy,
going?
Actually.
No. So the problem is easy. I've said it right. I said it last year. I'm saying it this year. This rant will stop. I will never rant about this again on the Me and Jesse podcast because I'm me and people want to hear from you. And what I got to say is Josh McDaniels has to go, and Al Davis is rolling in his grave. His fucking retard son has to go. I just said that. I just said that. And I'm not taking it back. So if you want to send your little letters, you want to send your little things, send it. I've had enough up to here. It is insane. I've had enough of it, Jesse. I'm literally, yesterday when I watched the game, and people think the Steelers are good. Steelers suck.
Yeah.
Wait to see what Casey's going to do to the Raiders. Wait to see what Miami's going to do to the Raiders. Then you're going to really contemplate how this guy has a job. He will not make it to the end of the season. He will not.
It's crazy. I can't believe what happened in that game. It's mind blowing actually. And then it was like they couldn't do anything either. Like they couldn't move the ball.
Well, and you know what's crazy? The part that was the most craziest part about the whole game, they literally were down by 8 points. And he decided, and he was on their 15-yard line, but it was 4th and 3 or 4th and 2. And they were down by 8 points, not more than 8 points. Last time I checked in the NFL, touchdowns were 6.
Yeah.
And if you go for the conversion without kicking it, it's worth 2. Now, 6 plus 2 is 8. This idiot kicks a field goal and expects to get the ball back with 2 minutes left in the game. I mean, it's unbelievable. How he still has a job in the NFL is unbelievable to me. But on a positive note, Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen, man, the guy is a machine. I love that guy. Max
Verstappen,
it's like, you know what?
And I apologize to anybody that I used any offensive terms to anybody.
Don't take it back.
I'm not taking it back, but I love all people. So keep it at that, But right now, I'm on the Titanic with the Raiders, and we're all sinking together.
Yeah. Well, Max Verstappen. I mean, Red Bull wins another constructors championship. I mean, really.
You called it though. You called it when Mercedes was winning, and it was coming to the end, and you said, "You watch, Mark." Mercedes is you said it. I go back episodes, people. We have it all on YouTube. It's me and Jesse on YouTube, so you go check. You said this was going to happen, and it's happening.
Well, it's interesting that it's happening like this. But I would say this. Here's the difference between Max and everyone else. Sergio Perez, his teammate, has the exact same car. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. So you can't just say, and this is what people have said about, racing a lot, is like, well, it's the car. Well, when your teammate has the exact same car and he can't even get close, it says something. It says something.
Yeah,
I agree. This guy is, I think, Lewis Hamilton pissed him off.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? I'm going to beat Lewis. And that's his goal. Yeah. He's going to win 105 races, and he's at 47 when he's 25. Already. And crazy. And they don't look like they're. I mean, it looks like, when the new cars come out in 2025, so they got a whole other season to do. Maybe there's difference there, but right now it looks like from now till then, it's going to be Max and a lot. If
we were to take anybody from F1 and turn them into an MMA fighter, Max Verstappen would be here, and everybody else would be here, because his mentality is like, you ever notice he doesn't look overly happy when he wins, and he doesn't look underly happy? You know what I mean? Is it weird to me? But sure, he celebrates, but he's not doing like Hamilton did in the day and all these other people and Schumachers of the world. He's not celebrating like them. He's like, he'll jump into his team's arms and I think he's doing it more for them than himself. And it's like he's on to the next race already. That's what it seems like to me.
When they asked him, like, is it,
Yeah.
Are you like bored of winning so much? And he's like, what? That's the reason I get in the car every day. Like, he
just
no
wants
other
to
reason.
win.
Like, I don't get it. Like, and and F1's notorious like that, and everyone complains. But Mercedes won 7 world championships in a row.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, like just before this happened, and Red Bull's going to win a third one. But you look at Mercedes, and they won 7 in a row. They won 8 constructors in a row. So you're like, okay, that's how this is. They are trying to bring the parity back, and I would say like everything under Red Bull is actually a really great fight, and it's going to be a great end of the season because every race is going to matter for these guys, and it means it's the difference between millions and millions of dollars in sponsorship money. So it is like important, even if it does get locked up next week mathematically. The rest of the field has to figure itself out too. So it is crazy to watch. Like, we're watching Wayne Gretzky again, I think. And it may be like it's different cars and it's different time, but you can't be that dominant and not be something special.
You know how much I hate fantasy football. I am a fantasy F1 fan. I'm a fantasy F1 fan, which means now I'm not going I'm Mercedes for life. But the only reason why I'm Mercedes for life is because I drive one.
Yeah.
So that's why. So it's not, I didn't have any like to anybody or whatever when we first started watching it, when you turned me on to it. But you know what's funny? If I was to look back on it now, and I won't switch teams, but if to look back on it, out of all the character people that I relate to, it's Max Verstappen by a million miles. Like, he would hang out with me and he'd be like, Mark, when can I see you again? Like, that's who Max is, because he has that brain stem. He also has the brain stem. If we were going to go light it up and we're going to get shit-faced, he would be the guy. Me and him would be on the speakers with Tiesto and pounding our chests. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because he's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he even could, because he only thinks about racing.
Yeah, I heard that about him.
3 suits, and everyone makes fun of him for these 3 suits, and he just rotates them. But he doesn't care, because he's like,
what did he say? Why he did that? Why?
Because I don't know about fashion, because all I know is racing. That's right. And it was a shot at Lewis Hamilton, who's got this like clothing company and stuff he's trying to do. But it was funny. But it's true. Like, he's like, you can tell this guy he's not like, he doesn't really care about working out. He's in shape, but he's not like trying to get jacked. He's not flashy that way. He just like, all he thinks about racing. When he goes home, he races in the simulator all day.
Yeah, crazy.
That's it. That's all he
does. Can you imagine? He sits there in a simulator and like, oh my God.
And he races with like regular people. It's crazy.
Could you imagine? You sign on, and Max is in your group.
Yeah,
you'd be like, this can't be real. And then when he waxes you on the game, you go, oh, it's real.
Yeah,
it's real.
It is not a joke. Yeah.
So listen to me. So Seattle looked good yesterday with Gino.
First half was bad.
I'm jumping all over the place on purpose.
I can keep up.
But yeah, of course you can. That's why I'm doing it. I'm feeding you softballs today.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is Seattle looked good. KC looks like KC again. Miami looks like the fastest team on the planet.
Yeah,
like
crazy.
It's literally like watching a track meet out there. They put up 70 points yesterday.
70.
And then people
and
listen,
horrible.
and the Dallas Cowboys get waxed. Literally waxed. I'm watching the game, cheering for Phoenix, and I say for Arizona, and I say to Mano, oh, I'm going to get shit on the show tomorrow, boy. Oh, I'm going to hear it, because I've always hated the Cowboys with a passion.
And you actually gave them some props last week, which was
they're handing them the trophy.
Yeah.
They're handing them the Super Bowl trophy, everybody. And that happened. No one's handing. And what happens. Listen, in college football, I love me some Deion Sanders.
Oh yeah.
But
ran into a team.
ran into the Ducks, and the Ducks shit all over them.
They sure did.
They put it on them, and I mean, I've seen beatings in college football before, because I'm a big Michigan fan, and I always have been. I've never changed, and I'm telling you, I've seen some beatings. I'm talking like Michigan in the big house against Western Kentucky, Southeast Kentucky. You know, one of those teams, and I've seen that kind of beating, but not like this. this was a woodshed beating. Okay.
Yeah.
This was taking you out to the woodshed and getting an ass whooping. And then you thought you've never seen a beating like that. Then you turn on the Denver game and then they get a worse beating.
They get 50 put up, a 50 spot between them.
Could you imagine if you owned, you see, in college football, Prime will figure a way to flip this and they'll win some games and they'll finish in the top 30 in the country, which is better than last year's 1-11 record. But in pro football, okay,
Yeah,
I don't know how you
it was bad. It was like,
listen,
honestly, like I don't even know how, like, because they just ran at the end. They didn't even.
But
they
you
all
think
knew
to
what they were
yourself,
going to do.
Jesse, you've never seen this in professional football. When the
No,
Denver
last time there was
Broncos
that
started
many.
the season, you know what scares me? When we started the season and the Raiders beat the Broncos and they squeaked it out. They squeaked it out. And then you know how scared I got when I seen what Miami did to them. And I thought to myself, we're playing Miami in 3 weeks. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, they're going to put up 100 points to the rate. This will be the first time in NFL history that anyone got 100 put on them. And this is what's going to happen. And I'm like, oh my God, they just put up 70 points on Denver. We barely beat Denver. We barely beat them. And they put up 70 points and they stepped off the gas. They could have put up
really
more.
did.
Oh my God.
I think there's like things that were like the other side probably gave up a bit, but still, like, they're
they
gonna
gave
run,
up.
they're
They gave
gonna
up.
they're whatever, but yeah, to keep scoring and scoring without even really trying was insane. And
They weren't trying. They weren't trying. They weren't. At the end, they were
weren't.
like,
They were just like,
yeah,
oh, let's run, and they just like it was nuts. Like how one guy had 4 touchdowns. Like it was crazy out there, and
yeah.
I mean, it's shocking. The whole NFL world is shocked that something like that could happen. Like 70 points. Last time was 1964 or something, 72 points.
1964.
Yeah. 72 points, I think it was. Yeah, but like that's a different era. That's
and he could have broke it. And he could have broke it.
Yeah, he could have.
It was a chip shot, and he said no. But I think it's kind of funny too because when Mike McDaniel said, I don't have that in me," but you had it in you to put up 70.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So come
But
on,
what
bro.
they do, like, what do you like? Again, like,
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do. You just keep running and like trying to run the clock out, and
Yeah, it was unreal.
yeah, and
It was unreal. Oh, last week, everybody, we had the Lob Wedge Classic at my house, okay, which is an annual event. And I just have to say this to everybody. My bro Jesse shows up in a foot cast
yeah,
and literally plays the lights out, okay? And he literally, I think you got eliminated by me.
yeah, you beat me.
Yeah, that there's no bragging in that, okay? Because there's none whatsoever. This guy's got a full boot on. I got him half shit faced because I got some special beer from his hometown for him. Had him sitting on the perch. He was sitting on the perch getting shit faced. I was feeding him margaritas, the most expensive margaritas in the history of
Those were
margaritas. Potent. It was like taking peyote, for Christ's sake. I don't know what was in those margaritas, but it was nuts. And then I start feeding you beers, and then he comes with the boot on and literally lights out. Did you not beat the Golf Pro in one round?
Did, yeah.
So let's put that on the record. The Golf Pro made it to the final. Jesse beats the Golf Pro with a boot on. And I was like, this guy, and the Golf Pro's like, this guy played some golf back in the day. You could tell, you know, and he's still kind of traumatized that you beat him in that round, you know. He brought it up with me the other day and he goes, that guy played some golf back in the day. I could tell. And I'm like,
yeah, it was. I grew up in Vancouver Island, so it's like what we did.
Yeah.
Like, you played like 11 months a year. So
isn't it weird too, but how naturally you just pick up the club and you're like,
it doesn't feel like it did. Like, trust me, like it.
Of course,
like I think that's the thing about golf. Like, and you know this too. Like,
it's not like riding a bike.
No, like there's
it's
mechanics that you remember, and there's things you remember how to do, but you also remember how good you were.
You're right,
and that you can't do it again.
Jesse, you're talking. I played the other day. I'm out with Dr. Osama and Dr. Rob. Okay, we're playing Blackhawk. It's a course in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And I get on the first hole. I drive the ball right down the middle. I put the ball right in the front of the green, and then I 3-putt and I make bogey. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, right? And I'm like, why? I get to the next hole, you know, and I get to the par 5. It's 532 yards. Now, listen when I tell you this. I hit a driver off the tee, tailor-made burner driver off the tee. I hit a 5-iron in in 2 on a
Wow.
par 5.
Jeez.
15 feet from the pin, I 2-putt, make birdie. Get to the
Okay.
next hole. I hit it in a fairway bunker. Jack 3 out of that fairway bunker like I'm in fucking England, and make a 7. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
just you watch one hole and you go, this guy knows how to golf. Like, he knows how to golf. You get to the next hole and you really look at it, and the guy goes, this guy, this guy's never played
But
before.
that is
Like,
it. I mean, that's really it, right? Because like you have a good hole or a couple good holes, but it's the one. And
I can group them. I can group them together now.
And that's the thing about like pros, like, you know, they don't have those.
No,
they rarely have those bad holes anymore. Like, they can't.
but that's focus, Jesse. That's the
is.
focus.
Big time.
My wife said to me, Mark, I want you to get tested for ADHD.
Yeah.
She said that.
Okay.
And for the first time in my life, 55 years old. And you know what I said? I think you're right. I can't hold my focus.
Yeah.
I cannot hold my focus. I can hold it for you saw me in the Lob Wedge Classic. I hit the ball. I'm
but
the
you're
guy that
doing
puts
something mechanical.
like, yeah, I'm just like bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang. No problem. I get near the finals and I'm like flying the ball over and I'm just kind of disorientated. I just can't. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me, man? And my wife's like, Mark, maybe you should get tested for ADD. Because she says, sometimes I'm talking to you and you just drift away.
From someone that has ADHD.
Yes,
you
I
have
know.
ADHD.
But I used to tease you about it. Now I'm like, my wife's like, you know what, Mark, you might have to get tested for it because I literally like float away. And you know what I used to think it's from, Jesse, was boxing.
Yeah.
I thought from doing all the boxing and taking those jabs in the head from you guys, I thought, oh, I just attribute it to, minor brain damage, but apparently it might not be.
No.
So most people are saying I might have that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah,
I've been teasing Jesse about it so long. I teased it right to myself.
No, you were born with that thing.
Yes.
I mean, it is one of those things.
And trust me, I'm not making any funny with it because I probably have it now.
I mean, people with ADHD know, like, oh yeah, but it's actually very easily like manageable. Like with medication, it's not bad. Like it's pretty easy, and you can function really well. You'll probably get so much work done in that 4-hour span that you're like,
And I do. And I get ultra focused sometimes when I'm working.
Yeah.
And
then there's
people
times it's really tough, right?
And there's people talking to me and I'm not listening. I don't care. You could talk as loud as you want. I'm like working, right? I'm doing my stuff. And then my wife's like, hey, like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like locked in.
And then it's hard to like.
Yeah. I have no earphones on. I have nothing on.
Sometimes you get upset too. Like when it gets broken, the concentration gets broken because you're like, what? And
I do get mad about it. I'm like, I was so focused. I was like, I was killing it. I was in like, I'm creating stuff in my business and I'm making cool shit. And I'm like, nobody get it. Like I'm in Never land, man. I love it. Like hey, here's a word. I'm orgasmic. It's orgasmic. It's like, oh wow, this is fantastic. I'm all over the place. But I'm going to get tested apparently, like coming up with our doctor. He's going to give me the voodoo, whatever he does. And we're going to figure it out.
Test. And you probably like get so distracted, you won't even finish it. And you'll be like, yes. It's happened to me. I was doing the test and
I will not. I'm not teasing anybody at home with it because apparently I might fall in that category now. So last laugh is on me apparently.
Yeah.
So
well, that and the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys. Well, because all Cowboy people that were watching the show last week were like, "Oh, Mark, I can't believe you gave us praise. You've been shitting on us for the last 10 years." And I was like, "Yeah, it looks good, And then this last week, I sent them all messages. How about those Cowboys? And
Don't let them forget.
And so
don't let them forget.
That's the only team I agree that you should be allowed to kick when they're down. Any other teams I don't do that with, but the Cowboys.
But let's say this about Jerry Jones.
Oh, he's trash.
No,
Jerry Jones is
not.
trash.
He turned a team that wasn't really that big to America's team. Like, think about that for a second. And I know that we hate that term, but
we do.
But it's true.
Immensely.
Like, it is the number one franchise, and he turned it into that. Now, like, okay, yeah, he can be shrewd and all that stuff, but I think there has to be something like, because really, if the Cowboys, in that rough era of the early '90s and stuff, where football wasn't like hitting as hard as it was.
True.
They needed something like that, and all of a sudden, like, I think that kind of kickstarted, the Raiders, for example, where the Raiders are like, they got in with a whole new demographic. Rappers
Did they ever?
following them, and everyone's like, yeah, this is what we're talking about now. and their whole mentality changed. But really, before that, it wasn't really like that. I think Jerry Jones really saw something about making your fans like bleed the color of your jersey.
Oh, do they ever?
And
do they ever?
yeah, and then now like it is the thing. Like, and you see the really great franchises that are doing well. Like that's what happens. Like the fans buy in fully and really like propel the whole team. Now, you know, you talk about the Jets because you know Jets have a fan base too.
But Jesse, look at Vegas. They can't do that. The Steeler game was in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were in Pittsburgh.
Well,
at the Steeler game. You know why?
Is,
because no one can relate to Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
Because it's LA Raiders,
yeah.
it's Oakland Raiders, and then you come to Las Vegas and it's like everybody's like,
there's too many tourists. Like it is like
$78 Southwest Airlines. Let's go from Pittsburgh to Las Vegas. Let's stay at the shithole Treasure Island, and we'll stay there for $60 a night.
Going to a game in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well,
when
it's
you
crazy.
Factor it all in, like it is crazy, and I'm sure it's not that cheap a ticket, but like it's still like it is one of those places.
Vegas is the most expensive ticket in the NFL.
Oh wow,
Vegas, so it is. I looked it up today before the show.
That's crazy.
Most expensive ticket in the NFL, which is crazy, but
that's crazy when they're packing it out and they're selling it that expensive. Well, that's the thing, but there is so many people around there. Like, but you know, you look at the Vegas Golden Knights and they have a great fan base. I mean, obviously that Stanley Cup run in the first time went really well, and it really solidified their fan base. But you look at their fans and
then winning the Stanley, didn't they win the Stanley Cup?
And then they win. Like it's pretty awesome. So you're like, okay, your fans are in, and they are like they're really into it.
How does the guy that works as a dealer at the Wind or Bellagio or Caesars take his two kids to a Raiders game when the tickets are $500, $520?
You don't.
How does he? Exactly. So how can you see? This is Mark Davis is beyond incompetent. Okay, like I have so many other adjectives going through my mind right now, but
when you spend $3 billion or whatever it was on a stadium, like
but
and people are buying it.
Yeah, but what he's done is he's alienated the real fans of Las Vegas to make it, which apparently the Vegas Knights have not done that. They've got them in there. You can get an affordable ticket price for a hockey game. The Raiders have not done that. That's why you can hear, like, if I was the owner of a team and I had all this money and I heard my stadium being out-drowned by the other team, I would seriously have a discussion with, okay, guys, see the section around the top? Okay, let's make that $50 or $80, and we'll make that for people to come to the game so they can at least come into the stadium, and let's comp their parking or whatever the case may be, and let's get real fans to this place. When you're in your own stadium, I don't give a shit how much you paid for it. I don't give a shit how big it is. You literally, yesterday was a debacle on all levels with the football. And when your fans are being drowned out by the opposing team in your own stadium, that's a problem.
Yeah, it really is. I don't get it. Again, like there was a time when like, okay, the Raiders are down, but they made it a game at the end and it still wasn't.
No,
like, they didn't really show it. So it is weird that I think Vegas, I mean, it's going to take time. Like you move that thing so far away from your real fan base.
You're right.
And, all those Vegas people, maybe they had other teams already. They probably did have other teams already.
Jesse, don't forget, it didn't cost $500 to go see them in Oakland.
No.
So now you're telling someone from Oakland, you're going to drive or fly with the price of gas right now, and you're going to fly to Las Vegas. Sure, go Southwest Airlines. It's probably cheaper than driving. And you go to Vegas, then you got to pay for your hotel room at least for one night.
Yep.
Then you got to eat out. You got to do all these things and pay money. And then you got to get two tickets. Now you get two crappy tickets. Crappy. $450 a piece US, $900. So like literally people are like, I can't afford to go to the football games.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's like, you get to the point now where you say to yourself, how long will this formula work for? Because if you're relying on the opposing team to fill your stands.
Yeah. But that's the thing. They're going to have to pivot with that. Like, there's no question. But they are like, I mean, again, like that's the crazy part is that they're selling it out. So you're like, well, people are doing it, and maybe that's all he cares about. I mean, it is what you care about the end.
Well, do you remember when the Oilers first went to Las Vegas one year? 6,000 fans went to Las Vegas and made it a weekend. But listen, Jesse, 6,000 fans from Edmonton went to Las Vegas, which is a destination for most people from Edmonton.
Yeah.
They go to Las Vegas. It's a 3-hour direct flight. Most of the time, not overly expensive.
Yeah.
People in Alberta have way more money than most people in the States do. So 6,000 fans went over there. That still leaves 11,000, 12,000 people from Las Vegas that actually went to the game and went for their team. That did not happen yesterday in Las Vegas with the Raiders. There were Steeler fans drowned the fans there. My dear friend Ken Franchak, one of our sponsors from Crystal Glass, was in a cab a few weeks ago. He says to the other guy, he's a Raider fan like me, and he says to the cab driver, "Hey, the Raiders, you like the Raiders?" And the guy goes, "Oh, I hate the Raiders." And the guy goes, "Why do you hate the Raiders?" "Well, I'm from New York. I drive cab."
Yeah.
And then he gets in another cab, and he asks that guy, he goes, "Hey, you like the Raiders?" And the guy's like, "No, Raiders suck, man. I like Green Bay." And then he said there wasn't one person driving a cab telling you they like the team.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
Watch this, Jesse. If you're in Seattle and we're in a cab, and you ask the cab driver, "You like the Seahawks?" What do you think he says? I would bet a lot of money that he says, "No, go Hawks, go Hawks." 12.
Oh, yeah,
12,
like guys, and that's the thing. Like you know, that's the problem with Vegas, I think. But again, here's the thing, and I have to go back to the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights did do something. They did something.
They did.
There's potential for it, but the Raiders are going to have to do something and play good. So I think that's the caveat here is that,
even if you
have all these people that have moved there to Vegas or whatever, and they have other teams like those cab drivers did. But, you play well enough for a few years, you're going to get the fans that live there that want the Raiders to be successful and keep and then actually buy into the team. And fall in love with it, which has to happen.
Yeah, yes,
and
Jesse. But I live in Edmonton. We live in Edmonton, right? And you know what happens? I am a Detroit Red Wing for life.
Yeah.
Regardless, the good with the bad. We win the cup. We don't win the cup. We make the playoffs. We haven't the few. I don't care. I still like our team. They're very competitive.
Right.
Just of late, a few years ago, I started liking the Oilers.
Right.
And the reason why I like them is because I love the city of Edmonton. I've never pretended I haven't. I love this city. Yeah. I love the people in the city. I have great friends and people here, my family, my son, my daughter-in-law, everybody's here. I love it. I wish my daughter would move back. That's another discussion. And it's crazy. But just of late, I do root for the Oilers because I'm from Edmonton and I want the city to be happy. I want my friends that have been rooting for them for 25, 30, 40, 50 years to be happy. And that's why. So you're right about your philosophy, because if you're a cab driver from New York and you still go for the Giants or the Jets and you're driving cab in Vegas, because 90% of the cab drivers are not from Las Vegas, they're from somewhere else. Maybe eventually they'd say, hey, maybe you'd be smart enough, Mark Davis, you idiot, you would give the cab drivers of Las Vegas. Listen, Mark Davis, you moron. Maybe you would give tickets to the cab drivers of Las Vegas and toss in a free few hot dogs and let them come and sit at the games and go, "Hey, guys, we're thinking about you." No, because you're a moron and you can't think that way. Let me explain this to you once again. Steve Wind. Okay, Steve Wind from the Wind in Las Vegas and Encore has received some bad press lately about some other stuff. But what I'm telling you is he did this back in the day when he opened the Wind and Encore. He comped a huge dinner for all cab drivers, all limo drivers, all airport pickup people, all these people to come and eat and stay for a night at the hotel. Free.
Wow.
Everything was comped. Guess
That's
what
pretty
happens, Jesse? Jesse, guess what happens when cab driver goes and picks people up now? Oh, you're staying at Caesars? That's great, but you should see what Steve Wind did for us at the Wind and Encore. You should go over there and shop. You should go over there and have something to eat. I wonder if Steve Wind made his money back on that. I bet you $1 he did.
Oh, yeah. Guaranteed he did. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like they know, like, hey.
Yeah. But that's the root of it. That's the root of it. And why Mark Davis hasn't figured that out yet about, hey, you better get the community way more involved if you want this thing to work long-term for the Raiders, because as we watched, it's not the football that's going to get them. So you better, sure you could have Mike Tyson ringing a bell before the game and lighting the torch and doing all that other stuff, but that's not enough. You need to have a better team, and you definitely need to get the community involved way more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if they don't, I mean, I don't know what would happen again. The Raiders have had that like horrible like luck with like landing in places. It's crazy, actually.
But now you've landed at a place with arguably one of the nicest stadiums, the best, one of the best facilities. So guess what? You actually got to put a team together. And you know, when they hired Josh McDaniels, we all said it.
Yeah.
We were like, really? You know, Matt Matishia, am I saying that right? When he went to the Lions, he sucked.
He did.
And now you know what he's doing? You know what he's doing, Jesse? He's back with New England.
Yeah.
And he's back doing I think he's doing, is he offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator? He was defensive coordinator. I think he switched.
Okay.
But I think it's hilarious because he went back to Daddy, and Daddy said, okay, you can come back and you can now be that's what he's doing right now because that's what he knows how to do. And he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to pass the buck to anybody because that's his job. Belichick is responsible. And guess what? Let's put a clock on Josh McDaniels, how long it takes him to go back to New England and get his old job back, because he learned from Belichick, but he's no head coach. We clearly see he's no head coach. He wants to be everybody's buddy. You can't be everybody's buddy when last year you finished 6-11, and you can't be no one's buddy. Listen, I'm not shaking nobody's hand until we win 5-6 games in a row. I don't give a rat's ass. Davante Adams, I don't care. You got 200 yards. We lost.
Yeah.
I don't. Josh McDaniels, you can't even break the line of scrimmage. Okay.
Yeah.
We got to fix that problem immediately.
Man, what's wrong with Josh Jacobs?
What about our guy here? Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow hasn't got, he caught one or two balls yesterday. Last week, one ball.
Yeah, but he's not in the thing anymore. Like he's not really part of it anymore.
His nickname is Third and Renfrow. That's his nickname.
Yeah.
Third and Renfrow. And you're not throwing it to him on third down. You imagine that? His nickname is Third and Renfrow, and you're not throwing it to him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is interesting, but when you got like Jacoby Myers and Davante Adams, like you'd think like,
Jacoby Myers is awesome. Adams is awesome, and he can only get the ball to Davante Adams. He cannot get it to anybody else. Listen, I like Jimmy G, but Jimmy G is we knew what we were getting when we got him, and we knew that he's a little bit more responsible than Carr. He's better looking, and that's basically it. You know what I mean? Like
it is one of those things. Jimmy G is. Man, he got exposed, and he could tell like he's just not. I don't know what it is, but he gets hurt a lot, and it's just body's can't handle it.
If the wind blows too much, Jesse, we have a problem. Listen, look at Carr yesterday. Carr took a small shot in New Orleans.
Yep.
He's out now, shoulder separation or something.
Yep.
These guys are made out of China because you know what the crazy part is. They've changed the rule about roughing the passer to the point of that these guys are made out of like they're so brittle that literally anything that happens, they get hurt. Look at what happened to Rodgers. Look what happened to Rodgers. If you could watch that in slow motion, if he got hit any softer, it would have been literally like two-hand touch.
Yeah, that one's crazy because his tendon snapped, and so you're like, it is one of those things though. Like, it is. I mean, longevity is a huge part of the game, and Jimmy G just doesn't have it. Like he doesn't. He doesn't. Not only doesn't have longevity, but he does start to be a little Carr-ish when he gets into trouble.
Yes, you're right, Jesse. You're 100% right.
Like, and it is. You can see it. Like you can see him.
He's all composed, super composed, super composed.
And he did take shots. Like it's so good to watch him take shots. In that first drive, they look awesome, and you're like, okay. But then all of a sudden,
against Buffalo, did you see his drive against Buffalo open the game last week?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he went down the field. I'm like, look at this guy. It's crazy. And then he fell asleep the rest of the game.
Well, I think the game is longer than the first drive.
That's right.
It is one of those things that like you're looking at it and you're like, okay, something has to happen. Is it the coach? Probably a bit, but I think also too, like they're just, I don't know if the playbook isn't big. I don't know what it is, but
I don't know either.
They just can't. They go through massive lulls of like really sucking in a game, and it's when the other team pulls ahead, and then they have the last again, they do those so car. Like they have the last 4 minutes that they come back and try, but it's already like it's a 50.
Too late.
It's even less than a 50-50. It's a shot in the dark to actually win. Like, yeah, you made it competitive at the end, but you shouldn't be in there in that position anyway, especially against a Steelers team that is not
that good.
Not that good.
They have a good defense, but no offense. And then they start putting points up against you. That tells you how bad your defense is. And then, Max Crosby can only play one position. He can't play everybody's position. And they got exposed bad. And I'm telling you, man, like they're playing the Chargers next week, but they don't look like anything either. They got lucky. They won. They were almost 0-3. They were literally one pass away from going 0-3. Minnesota threw a interception on the 5-yard line, or they would have been 0-3 going into it. So those are the kind of games the Raiders have a shot to win. But then when you start seeing on your schedule, KC, Miami, that's when the door gets shut in your face and bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And it did. And once, I mean, I'm interested to see what Miami does here. Like, it is only 3 games in, but to put up that many points that many times in a row, like, man, oh man,
that's nuts, man.
Yeah,
Hill
says, listen, I'm going to get 2,000 yards, and you're like, yeah, you might.
Can we switch to this, because we got the Ryder Cup coming up this weekend in Italy, and the teams have been picked. Everybody's rolling, and the American team only picked one guy from Live Golf, which is Koepka.
Yeah,
they picked Koepka, and then Bryson DeChambeau, who is literally unconscious right now playing golf, who put up a 58 or whatever not so long ago. Did you hear what I just said? A 58. And then last week he won on the Live Golf Tour and shredded everybody. And then I think to myself, only Americans know this. And I know Americans watch this show. A lot of Americans watch this show, and you can take this how you want to take this. The only way is to win with the team you got. If you guys lose to the Europeans this weekend in Italy, you're all going to understand with me and Jesse Pot. You're going to start saying to yourself, "Oh, we should have let Chambeau play. We should have let Dustin Johnson play. We should have let," you know what I mean? And you're going to find that out if they lose this weekend, which I'm going to say on the show, they're losing this weekend.
Wow.
They're
really?
USA is losing this weekend, the Ryder Cup in Italy. You heard it here on the Me and Jesse podcast, and there's going to be questions after that. You didn't pick Dustin, the sniper Johnson, and you didn't put Bryson. I smashed the ball every time I hit it, DeChambeau, on the team. That was the difference maker. If you win, all's forgiven. If you lose, we come back here next week to talk about it.
Well, I'm telling you what, man, you wonder about like going to another country, time zone, for all that things
Jesse.
too. Like those other guys are used to it, and I think with the Ryder, like those Europeans really do love that tournament. They want to win.
Why do they bond so much, Jesse? They're so bonding, and they're in Italy, and you imagine how nuts the crowd's going to be when they're there for Europeans. And don't forget, Jesse, this isn't quiet, please. They go bananas the whole time when this is going on, right? So there's not going to be that many American fans in an Italian golf course.
Yeah.
And literally, it's going to be chaos. And I think that plays into the Europeans' hand. I think that helps them.
It really does. It has to. Like, there's no question it doesn't really. It has to help them because
exactly.
It's man, I still like, obviously Live, like when you look at it, they won the fight.
Oh,
and, but they're still like, they're still pretty hurt. The PGA pretty hurt still about it all.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
that just proved it. You're right, Jesse.
Yeah, it did. It proved that they're still mad. It really did. Like, that's what I mean. Like,
Europeans didn't pick one guy. Europeans didn't pick one guy from the Live Golf Tour, not one.
Yeah. So again, they're mad still, and I get it, but come on, like, we want to see the best golfers in this thing, and they're just not. And so you can't imagine the ratings to be as good. I mean, it would still be fine, but when you like, the whole thing that people are watching the Masters for was to watch the Live guys versus the PGA. It made it
totally
the Masters. Like,
totally.
I don't know the last time that everyone tuned into a Masters like that. Like, it It was all
biggest
over
rating
everything.
in history. The
Yeah.
biggest ratings in history.
Okay, well there you go. Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't because they were wanting to see like Tigers like, leading going into Sunday. It was because live golfers were fighting against PGA golfers.
That's right.
And there was live guy fighting in Sunday. And that's it. Like that was why people tuned in and to the highest ratings ever. And why not keep that going? I don't understand what everyone wants to watch sports when there's a rivalry. Like, it's one thing to watch golf, and then I get there's diehard golf fans, but people want to watch the fight.
Why doesn't PGA? Why Jesse, the PGA doesn't do what you just said? It's like it couldn't be any simpler to figure out, and they still haven't figured it out. I'd love to see the rating, Jesse. I'd love to see the ratings on last week's golf tournament, the PGA golf tournament, and you'll see how horseshit they are, because you can't even name the guy that won. You don't even know who they are. You don't know their names. Like they're doing a very poor job on letting you know who people are.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously they've pivoted the PGA and to like try to get a younger audience, maybe, but
yeah,
they still don't get it. They still don't get what was getting people there, I think. And again, like, yeah, you have to honor your loyal fans. However, you also need new blood for the next generation of loyal fans. And this is what the new blood wants to see. And so you need to give it to them more to get them to be your loyal fans in the future. Otherwise, your old fans die. And what do you have then? You got to rebuild everything, and it's even worse. Why not take what's
what's happened. That's what's happened with the PGA Tour.
It is.
Their fans have been dying off. All of a sudden, the next generation is talking about people on Live Golf. Then they watch a really cool concert after, with Fisher, the DJ, and whoever, some cool DJ. And it's like a whole weekend of cool shit. And that's what everybody wants now, because they want to be entertained as well.
Yeah. And why not? Why not?
Yeah.
What's the problem? I don't get the problem. But whatever.
No, it doesn't cost any money to let everybody know. Yeah.
I just don't get it. But again, like, I guess we're not there, but I think they've been given a gift with the Live Golf thing, even though they try to fight it, which is stupid. They were given a gift to really put them back on the map, and they're still not getting it. They're still not getting it.
Wow.
I don't.
No, they're not. And NHL's coming up. Coming up next week. Is it next week it starts? So I know how much you really don't care about that. So yeah,
I think I even know.
I know how much you don't care about that.
Oh, man, hockey, come on now. Hockey, like, okay. The season's
let's
too
say
long. The season's too long.
Okay, we'll talk about it in May.
Well, in May, yeah. There's playoffs, but again, like, it's the thing. The season's way too long. It doesn't mean anything this early. Yeah.
You're right.
You watch guys and you want
right.
your team to do well, but really, it doesn't really matter. What matters is January 1st. Like, sure, you got to put yourself in the spot, like, to be there in January 1st, but January 1st to end of April is what matters. It's like 40 games or 35 games. It's the best. They're ramping up for playoffs. Every point starts to matter more. It is more exciting. This till Christmas, man. I don't know. It drags on, and it just does not feel like that exciting. Yeah. It's like, man, I don't know.
And so that means NBA is going to start soon, though. NBA is going to start soon, and
which is weird because I think I like the NBA, like the length of the season better than the NHL. Like, I don't know.
Me too.
There's just something about the NBA that just is. It's like baseball a bit, like I think with the record and
now baseball. Right now, baseball is the most exciting time of the year.
Yeah,
right
October
now
is like, this is when it happens. This is when, exactly. It means the most. And you had to play great all season to get to this point to get in. But again, like, it is long. Like, it's a different thing though, because they don't really base it off the fans really watching. They base it off merchandise. So like you watch some of those day games in places, and there's like 1,000 people there, and you're like, wow, I can't.
And don't forget the TV deals in baseball are gigantic,
massive.
Like they're
TV sport.
Yeah, they're massive. So yeah, and so I go back to hockey, and I'm like, man, I don't know.
The NFL is just so good. It means so much
It is.
every single week.
It does.
The fantasy
Yeah.
game of it is so much better than hockey's. You know,
Yeah,
every
all areas.
like
I
five.
agree.
I think how did it work that out? Just like every I think it's like 5.5 games are one, like have the same weight as one NFL game. So like you're like, okay, that's there's just so much with the NFL that happens.
It's to live or die on. It's
yeah,
to live or die
it's the
on,
ultimate
right?
chess game for me, football. And
I agree.
and the way the coaches play each other, they have their pieces out in the field. However, those pieces have mind and talents of their own, and so you're trying to call the play that your chess play pieces do, but you also have to remember the guys that you have in those positions, that they can do it or not. And that's what's so crazy about it. Like, it's the last sport that's like super, like that's how the level of coaching needs every single play. And it's not like it's just constant action either. It's just you set up, you know the other team's going to do something, and you set up a play to stop that thing and do it, whatever, 70, 80 times a game, and see who gets down the first. Like, it's beautiful, really, to me. Like, it is an amazing sport.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas hockey, like, yeah, okay, there's like some parts of it, but they've neutered hockey too, let's be real.
Yeah.
The thing that we liked fights and bad blood.
What about Theo Fleury? Why isn't Theo Fleury in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, dude. Well,
you know, like,
I think
more
if you
people
look
are
at
talking
his
about that
Instagram,
now.
That's why. That's the only reason now. Like, I think now he's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he just posts some stuff on there that makes a lot of people upset. And so if you put that on the Hall of Fame, you're like, do you want, and that's what it is now. It's political. And it's sad because, you know, that guy, obviously the stats are there, and they're more than a lot of other players, to be honest. But it's, you know, now it's deeply political. It's, man.
Well, are we finding that out, Jesse, in life in general? Because Russell Brand just got canceled on YouTube, and we're on YouTube, right? And he got canceled, and people are making these allegations against him and all these things all of a sudden from 20 years ago. And all of a sudden, when he's totally straight, he's no longer like has, you know, addiction problems. His life, and he starts talking a certain way on YouTube, and just mysteriously enough, this happens. It's like, oh,
yeah,
he all of a sudden, people come out of the woodwork. There's really zero merit to any of their claims,
right?
And because he starts talking a certain way, but before, when he was a drunk and a drug addict and all these other things, no one gave a shit. All of a sudden, now he's successful, and he says
controversial things that you know, not everyone it's not popular to say.
That's right.
But I
right.
don't know all the allegations and stuff, so I don't know. But in terms of watching his videos, like, I mean, the things he says, like, yeah, some are controversial, but at least he does it really well, and he gives everyone a chance. Hey, you know what? I get more respect for Bill Maher than I ever have either because of that. And he's because he's like, you know what?
Yeah.
The guys that I was with, like, they've gone so far in the direction, and I'm not going there with them. And again, you can see him bringing in people that are on the other side more, because you're like, no, this is actually.
But what did Bill do? He pivoted. His ratings go down. So what does he do? No. You know what's funny? If you would think, you would watch him now, you think he's more of a conservative or Republican the way he talks, but he was the complete opposite 2-3 years ago. And literally, when he came to the River Creek Casino back in the day, and when I owned the MFC, I literally had 5 or 6 tickets for the front row every show. I didn't even give those tickets away when he came because I was so anti-Bill Maher.
Yeah.
He must have thought to himself, what's going on here? There's no one sitting in the front of the place.
Yeah.
And that was me. But it's crazy because the latest things I've seen of him, he's flipped the script 360 degrees the other way.
Well, his big thing is like, I haven't moved my position on things, but the Democratic Party has moved their position on things. I'm still here, and they've all moved way over here, and I'm not going there with them. Which,
so I'm staying right. I'm staying right here.
I'm staying where I was.
Right here.
This is what I believe in, and nobody's changed my mind. And it is, you know, again, it's you know, you look at a lot of things. Politics and sports, though, is really frustrating. It's really frustrating. But you know, it is part of it. You know, I think F1 does it so well because they admit the politics and they talk about it. It's not like you just hide it like the NFL.
Yeah,
NHL.
No one's watching what they're saying either. Like when you watch F1
they're
interview,
free to say it.
And you watch it. Yeah, you watch an NHL interview. It's just like NHL interviews are horrible. That no one ever said anything that they've ever thought of their own thought process. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You watch F1, they kind of say how it is. And I don't agree with the UFC because everybody's too far that way. They're slandering everybody. But what I'm saying is that, I mean, and that's why NHL, the ratings in the real world are horrible because no one can relate to people. No one can. McDavid could be the best hockey player in the world, but no one can relate to him. Like he's vanilla beyond vanilla. Draisaitl could be the second best. Matthews in Toronto could be one of the best. You hear them talk, it's like you can't relate to them. There's nothing you relate to.
And that to me is what sports need to really double back down on is
more than ever.
Because that's in this, especially in this generation now, like they want to know those guys and feel like, I mean, you can be so close to like a lot of people that are really popular online. And so now the celebrity status of sports, of athletes, it's waned a bit because they've really made themselves unapproachable.
Correct.
And they really got to figure that. And that's what I think Liv was doing properly.
Yeah.
And is
like right from the beginning.
Yeah,
right from the beginning.
They're
and
making it
made
fun.
the PGA panic like this fast. It was like bam. And me and you said it was going to take 2, 3, 4 years, and we were like, oh no, it happened way too fast.
Crazy.
And that just showed you that an institution like the PGA Tour isn't that badass as everybody thought they were on paper, because you look at it and you go, wow, the history, and you think Jack Nicklaus, you think Tiger Woods, all that went to the wayside with Monahan, the president, when he basically buckled and made the deal with Liv because he knew people were turning off the TV. Liv said, we gotta get the coolest guys we can get. We'll pay them a ton of money. And it worked. They were bringing wheelbarrows over to their houses full of money. Easy peasy. They took the guys that people followed the most. They could care where they were ranked. They just checked their social media and seen that their platforms were lit up, and they picked all those people.
It is true. And man, oh man, I sports is an interesting one. I think they need to really make about the fans a little more again versus, like, hey, look how awesome we are, but you don't really get to say anything. And go from that. Take some of the sports that have like turned their whole thing around and made it popular.
Watch what they did. Yeah.
Watch what they did and start doing it.
Exactly. Don't forget, everybody, this segment was brought to you by Backscape, backscape.com. Check it out today. New products up all the time. I would recommend to subscribe, get on the subscription of Backscape. And the product's fantastic. Pretty soon coming out with a female line. But the men's line for back hair, the best in the business, 1,000,000%. Also could be used for the front too, gentlemen. But that's just my experience with it. So I do use Backscape. So I don't, because there's nothing sexy about back hair.
Agreed. And don't forget about Crystal Glass, everybody. For all your glass needs, your clear choice, called 310 Glass, or
go to crystalglass.ca, everybody.
Excellent.
Best in the business, over 70 years in the glass business.
That's the crazy part.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah. I didn't even know glass was that old.
Yeah, either did I. 49 locations throughout Western Canada. So if you're in BC, Alberta, or Saskatchewan, you go to Crystal Glass. It's your only choice, guys. Yeah. You have to go to Crystal Glass. Everybody on my street, I live on a golf course. No other truck drives down here when their windows get broken than Crystal Glass.
Well, everybody, thanks for watching once again. That's Mark Pavlich. I'm Jesse Marno. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast. We'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at